At the Mother's Day lunch, she said, "I'm proud of all my children, except the loser sitting at the table." Everyone laughed. I stood up, placed a black box on the table, and said, "For you, Mom. Happy Mother's Day." Then I walked outside, took back the luxury car I gave her, and moments later, she screamed when she finally opened it. "I'm proud of all my children, except the loser sitting at the table." That was my mother's toast, word for word, on Mother's Day, with her champagne flute raised high and the rest of the table erupting in laughter like she just dropped the punchline of the century. I was the loser. I didn't even flinch. I just looked at her, at the lines around her mouth that always tightened when she was about to humiliate me, at the glint in her eye that said, "Yes, I know what I just said, and no, I don't regret it." My sister, Melanie, snorted into her mimosa. Her husband, Greg, slapped the table. My younger brother, Aaron, leaned over and whispered, "Don't take it so seriously, man. It's just Mom being Mom." No one looked uncomfortable. No one spoke up. No one said, "Hey, that's enough." I was invisible, but only when they wanted me to be. When the bills needed covering, when Melanie's car needed new brakes, when Aaron needed rent, just this once, I was suddenly the backbone of the family. But on Mother's Day, I was the joke. I hadn't planned to make a scene. I hadn't planned to do any of what I was about to do. But something shifted inside me then. Something final. I reached under the table, pulled out a black box, and placed it directly in front of her plate. "Happy Mother's Day," I said calmly. She blinked at it. Confused, maybe. Suspicious, definitely. "What is this?" she asked, her voice suddenly cautious. Everyone leaned in. "You'll see," I said. Then I stood up, adjusted my jacket, and walked out of the house. 10 minutes later, I was in her driveway. I opened the luxury car I had gifted her last year, the same one she bragged about to her book club, the one she told her friends her favorite child had bought her. She never told them it was me. I had the second key. I got in, started the engine, and pulled away slowly, calmly, as if I were running an errand. She screamed when she opened the box. I didn't hear it, but I imagined it vividly, her shrill voice echoing through the house, her perfectly manicured fingers clawing at the box's edges, finding what I'd left her. A single photo. Me, 10 years old, holding a homemade Mother's Day card and a bouquet of flowers I bought with coins I saved from skipping lunch for a week. On the back, "This was the last time I thought I mattered to you." That's how it began. Not the war, but the reckoning. For 2 weeks after Mother's Day, no one said a word. No calls. No texts. Not even a vague Facebook post from Melanie, which was strange for someone who couldn't go 20 minutes without updating the world on her emotional state or kale smoothie. Then Greg broke the silence. He sent me a message. "Hey, man, that car situation really messed her up. Maybe apologize." Apologize. They humiliated me in front of a full table. On purpose. Laughed. And now I was supposed to feel bad for taking back something I paid for in full? But I didn't answer. I didn't block him either. I wanted to see what they'd try next. And they did try. 3 days later, my father called. Not to apologize. Not to ask how I was. Just one sentence, left on voicemail. "If you're done acting like an attention seeker, we could use some help with Aaron's tuition." I laughed so hard I nearly dropped my phone. Aaron, the golden boy, the future of the family, the one who just needs time to figure things out. He'd been figuring things out for 6 years. Meanwhile, I was paying off his credit cards and wiring him money for textbooks he never even bought. I told myself I was done. I really believed it. But then I made the mistake of going back. Not for them. For Grandma. Her birthday. 83. The only person in that family who ever looked at me without judgment. She lived in a small house just outside town, where the grass always looked freshly cut and the air smelled like boiled tea and soap. She never asked me for anything, just offered me peppermint hard candy and memories. The party was simple. Finger food. Fold-out chairs. Plastic tablecloths. I almost forgot who I was walking into, until I overheard it. They were in the kitchen. I'd gone to get ice. I wasn't trying to spy, I just paused when I heard my name. Melanie, loud as ever. "He's not family, he's just a wallet with feelings." The room erupted in laughter. I heard Greg chuckle and say, "Well, feelings don't pay rent." Then Mom, my mother. She sighed, tired and dramatic like she always did when she wanted pity. "I just wish he'd learned to take a joke. He always makes it about him. It's not like we forced him to give us anything." And then Dad, the final blow. He did it to feel important. Let him feel small for once. I stood there with the ice bucket in my hands. Just stood. Not moving. Not breathing. They hadn't seen me. Not yet. When I finally walked into the room, it went dead silent. They didn't even try to hide it. No excuses. No laughter. Just guilt. And then the usual cover-up. Oh, there you are. We were just talking about. Yeah, I said. I heard everything. Melanie blinked. Mom tried to reach for my arm. Don't twist it, sweetheart. You were just reminding each other how useful I used to be, I said. Don't worry. Message received. I didn't leave. Not yet. Grandma still hadn't had her cake. But I watched. I watched how no one looked me in the eye for the rest of the night. How Aaron handed me a plate like he was passing a peace offering. How Greg tried to start a conversation about the stock market, as if pretending nothing had happened would reset the timeline. They knew I'd heard. They also knew I wasn't going to yell. I wasn't going to cry. And that scared them more than anything. But they weren't done. 1 week later, I got an email from my bank. A transfer had been attempted using an old joint account I had with Dad, something we opened when I helped him refinance the house 4 years ago. It had been dormant. I'd forgotten it existed. They hadn't. I called the bank, froze the account, flagged the attempt. Then I drove to their house. Not to confront. To watch. They were having dinner. Tacos from the smell. I didn't knock. I didn't say anything. I just stood across the street, hands in my pockets, while the windows glowed with warm family light. I wasn't in it. But I used to be. They didn't see me until Melanie stepped outside to take out the trash. She froze when she saw me, then smiled like nothing had ever happened. You're being dramatic again, she said. Come inside. It's Taco Tuesday. I walked up to her. Not close. Just enough. You tried to steal from me, I said. You joked about me. Used me. Mocked me. And now I'm supposed to smile over tacos. She shrugged. Families fight. I leaned in. No. Families break. Then I turned around. She didn't follow. But the next morning, she texted. Don't do anything crazy. You'll regret it. She was right. I was about to do something insane, but I'd never regret it. Because I finally saw the truth. I wasn't their family. I was their strategy. And that game was over. They messaged me a week before it happened. Just one sentence. We miss you. Let's do Mother's Day right this time. I didn't answer right away. I waited 3 days. Then I wrote back. Fine. One dinner. Just family. They thought I was crawling back. That the black box and the car were just a tantrum. That all it would take was a decent meal and a few warm words to get their little puppet son back. I showed up at 6. The table was set like always. Candles, swan-folded napkins, wine glasses polished within an inch of their lives. My mother wore the pearl necklace I once gave her. Melanie was in a low-cut dress with that same smug smile. Greg sat beside her like her loyal little pet. My father sat in the center, throne style, as if he'd earned anything. Only Aaron looked genuinely nervous. We're so happy you came, my mother said. We really missed you. And maybe we went too far last time. Or maybe we didn't go far enough, my father muttered, eyes down. But family is bigger than pride, right? She added quickly. Let's not hold grudges. I didn't answer. I waited. She raised her glass. Tonight is about turning the page. I'm proud of all my children, even the ones who lost their way. We all make mistakes. Silence. Then a voice from the hallway. Sorry I'm late. Everyone turned as Rachel stepped into the room, Melanie's ex. The one she called unstable. The one she swore would ruin her life. The one she lied about for years. Melanie froze mid-sip. What is she doing here? She hissed. She's here for dinner, I said, calm. With the family. Rachel sat beside me, elegant and composed, and pulled a small envelope from her purse. She placed it gently on the table. I've kept quiet long enough, she said. But I was invited here to tell the truth. My father leaned forward, ready to growl something, but Rachel beat him to it. Mrs. Harris, she said, looking straight at my mom. In January, over wine, you told me this about your son. His emotions are his leash. He pays when he feels guilty. And this, he's not family. He's a strategy. I turned to Melanie. And you, I said, you didn't know I was standing behind the hallway wall when you said, let him feel small for once. Melanie exploded first. She's lying. This is a setup. You brought her here to ambush us? You're seriously doing this? Again, you need help. You want to talk about help? I said, cutting her off. I reached into my jacket and pulled out a printed bank statement. Here's a wire transfer, $12,500 from my account to yours. Approved. But not by me. I slid it across the table. That's not a mistake. That's fraud. My father shot to his feet. This is betrayal, he barked. We came here to make peace and you bring in this snake? My mother had started crying by then. But it was the kind of crying actresses do in soap operas, just enough to look tragic without ruining their makeup. I don't know what you want from us, she whispered. I stood. I want nothing, I said. Not your apologies. Not your calls. Not your guilt. I want distance. I looked each of them in the eye. I'm not your son anymore. I'm your consequence. Then I pulled one last thing from my jacket, a sealed legal envelope. In here is a formal termination of all joint accounts. Access to my business? Gone. My name on the trust? Updated. Grandpa made sure of it before he passed. Melanie? Removed. Dad? Erased. I dropped the envelope in front of my mother's glass. This is your inheritance now. Emptiness. Just like the respect you gave me. Then I pulled out an old photo, me at 10 years old, holding a handmade card and a bouquet. The last time I ever thought it mattered. I tore it in half, placed the pieces on the table, and said, "One for each of you." And I walked out. No one followed me. Not a word. Just a long, gasping silence. At the door, I looked back one last time. Their faces weren't angry. They were ruined. I didn't rage. I didn't post online. I didn't make a speech. I opened my laptop and a spreadsheet. Over the course of 8 days, I sat down with a friend of mine, a certified accountant, and we built a list. A full audit. Not of their lives. Of mine. $14,300 for Aaron's tuition. For semesters I paid, just until he gets settled. Turns out he settled into failure just fine. $7,800, Melanie's car. A lease under my name, with her name on the bumper stickers. Just until she gets approved for her own, she said. That was 3 years ago. $2,400, medical expenses for Mom. A dozen copays and specialist visits she booked under my insurance, saying she'd take care of it later. She never even asked if I had coverage to spare. $18,000, direct transfers. Some Venmo, some cash, some wire. Help with rent. The fridge broke. I just need to get through this month. You'd think with all the money I sent them, they'd be living like kings. But no. They still somehow managed to look poor and talk rich. $1,650, gifts. Holidays, birthdays, made-up anniversaries. The bed I bought my parents after Dad threw out the old one in a drunken rage. Melanie's congrats on your engagement spa weekend. Aaron's, I passed my first-class sushi dinner. All of it logged. With receipts, screenshots, timestamps, even some printouts of text messages. Can you send it tonight? The landlord's making things complicated. If I ask Mom, she'll freak out. Just until next week. Total, $44,150.47. Not a symbolic number. Not rounded. Precise. Cold. Clean. I handed the file to my attorney. Quiet guy. Brutal when needed. We'd gone to school together. I'd once paid for his bar prep course. He never forgot that. Do you want the full amount? He asked. Or leave them a little dignity? Every cent, I said. No interest. No embellishment. No drama. Just facts. For days later, they got the letters. Certified. One to my father. One to my mother. One to Melanie. Subject, outstanding family debt. This is not revenge. This is closure. Attached is a verified breakdown of financial support rendered between 2016 and 2023. Total due, $44,150.47. Please remit full payment within 90 calendar days via certified bank transfer. Oliver Harris. Melanie broke first. You've got to be kidding me. You're counting gifts? Her messages kept coming. You need help. Seriously. You're ruining this family. I didn't answer. I left her words unread and untouched. My father called my attorney. Tried the stern voice approach. We're blood. You can't sue your own father. He didn't like hearing that you absolutely can, especially when you have documentation and legal standing. My mother, she didn't call. She sent a letter, written in careful cursive, ink smudged in places where she must have wiped her eyes. I gave you life. I stayed up with you when you were sick. I prayed for you. And now you send lawyers. No apology. No accountability. Just guilt, weaponized the way she always liked it best. On day 21, we filed official civil claims. Melanie filed a countersuit, claiming emotional harm. claimed I manipulated her into accepting money. She lost. Hard. The judge didn't even look impressed. Just read off the record of transactions, the text messages, the written acknowledgments. Dismissed her case in under an hour. Dad refused to respond. 3 weeks later, we filed for judgment by default. 1 lien, 2 garnishment warnings, and a flag on his primary checking account. Mom didn't show up to court, didn't submit a response. But when she tried to pay for her medication at the pharmacy the following week, it declined. Her retirement benefits had started being docked, a percentage each month, just like they docked pieces of me for years. And me? I didn't gloat. I didn't scream, "I told you so." I didn't even talk about it. I just watched the bank app as payments came in. Melanie paid first, probably to stop the bleeding. Dad paid second, only after realizing the lien would ruin his credit. Mom's payment was last. She sold her silver tea set, the one from her wedding. I found out from a cousin who said she cried while wrapping it. I didn't feel vindicated. I felt clean. On the 91st day, I walked into my bank and withdrew exactly $44,150 in cash. Hundreds, 50s, 20s, neatly bundled. I placed it in a matte black lockbox, lined the bottom with velvet, added one single note on top. This isn't money. This is accountability. I didn't send it to them. I didn't burn it. I placed it in a private deposit box under my name, not as a trophy, but as a marker, proof that I paid for my escape. Then I donated $5,000 to a nonprofit that supports adults recovering from family-based financial abuse. They emailed a receipt and a short thank you note. That was the only gratitude I needed. I didn't celebrate. No new car. No toast. No mic drop. I sat down at the same desk where, 5 years ago, I'd skipped dinner to send rent money to Melanie. And I whispered to myself, I didn't want revenge. I wanted my life back. And now it's paid in full. I didn't move to another city. I didn't start a new life in Bali or Montana or wherever people go to heal. I stayed right where I was. What changed was everything else. For the first time in my life, my phone didn't buzz with emergencies I didn't create. No more late-night texts from Aaron asking for a little help. No more missed calls from Mom that weren't really about checking in. No more Melanie voice notes pretending she just wanted to chat when really she needed a deposit. The silence was immediate, and it was glorious. I didn't need noise to prove I'd won. I needed absence to prove I'd escaped. I started sleeping better, deeper. My apartment, for once, stayed clean because I wasn't running out to fix other people's chaos. Food tasted better. Music felt louder. Even air seemed easier to breathe. I wasn't free because they changed. I was free because I stopped needing them to. Then the ripples came. An old family friend stopped me outside a store. Her smile was tight. Your mom's not well? I thought maybe. I cut her off with a look. She tried again. You know, families argue. But deep down now. No, I said. Deep down is exactly where I buried it. She blinked, took a breath, and left. One afternoon, I pulled a storage bin out of my closet, full of old things I hadn't touched in years. Inside, photo albums, cards, leftover ornaments. I picked up a framed family picture, the last one we ever took together. I was smiling, but my shoulders were hunched. I looked like a guest in my own life. I threw it out, not in anger, in peace. That same week, I packed up 3 pieces of furniture, the coffee table I bought for my parents, the shelf I assembled for Aaron's books, he never read them, and the dining chairs I gave Melanie when hers broke. I donated them to a shelter. Let someone else sit on them now. Someone who might be grateful. And then I did something I hadn't done in years. I deleted every single number from my phone connected to them. Not just Mom, Dad, and my siblings. The cousins who said nothing. The aunt who laughed at me across the table. The uncle who didn't want to take sides. Gone. I didn't block them. I just erased them from my future. A month later, I saw my father. In a parking lot. He was loading groceries into the trunk of his car, not the SUV, of course. That was long gone. He turned, looked straight at me, and paused. His mouth opened slightly. Maybe to speak. Maybe to fake a smile. I didn't stop walking. I didn't slow down. And when I passed him, I didn't even glance back. That silence? It was the loudest thing I'd ever said. A week after that, I saw Melanie. She was sitting at an outdoor cafe with a man I didn't recognize. Laughing, gesturing, performing. I don't know if she saw me, but I saw her and felt nothing. No anger, no bitterness, not even pain. Just air. like she was a scene I'd already seen too many times. The final closure came quietly. I walked into a coffee shop I hadn't stepped foot in since last year. The same one where, once, I sat across from them on Mother's Day, the day they laughed while I was gutted in public. I ordered tea, took a seat by the window. The same table, same chair. But everything was different now. There was no tension in my jaw, no ache behind my ribs, no countdown to the next insult. I looked at the seat across from me, the one where they all used to sit. And for the first time, I didn't imagine them in it. It was just empty. Mine. I took a sip, looked outside, smiled. This seat used to hurt. Now it's just mine. They stayed the same. But I didn't. And that was enough.